Hey everyone, I'm Allison. This is Daniel. This is Play the Game, and we're looking at and reviewing Dandilions.
Yes.
Which I like dandelions.
It's
I really want to take this box and find a dandelion field and just plop it in there and take a picture, but it's too late in the year. Those are like late spring.
Year.
I do. So next year you'll see a pretty picture of this box in a dandelion field because that's what I want to do. I like dandelions.
Yes. So Dandilions is from BoardGameTables.com, who sent us this game to review, and that's what we're going to do.
It is 2 to 3 players, which I found interesting.
Yes.
We have played it
I
at
get
both
why.
counts.
I get it would be super crowded at 4 players. It feels like it should be 2 to 3 is a weird player count, but it would be way too crowded at 4.
I think they should have an expansion, just add another petal with a 4-player right there.
So Dandelions is a little small box game. It was kickstarted by Board Game Tables, I believe, earlier this year. It will be at Gen Con if you want to check it out there. It is a really fun little 2 to 3 player kind of puzzly movement around
like
the Dandelions game.
Dice placement-ish game?
It's a dice movement placement game. So you're going to roll all your dice, and then these are what you're going to use to move.
You only roll once.
Yes. So we actually just finished a game. Allison thought she won, and then we realized she had done something wrong, and then I won.
I'm not bitter at all.
So you start out, players stack their pieces here on the spaces 1, 2, and 3, but this is the first player space. You roll all your dice, and then this is how many you can move. So you're going to arrange them by number so that they're nice and organized. But on your turn, you're going to move. So if I wanted to use a 6, I would move 6 spaces. And then I would put this dice on the petal where I landed. Mm-hmm. That's the basic gist of the game, is you are playing dice to move around the petals, and you put your dice on the petal that you land on. But there are a few special rules as you play. If you land exactly on another player, you move the same number of spaces as you did. So from here, if I played a 5, I would move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Double
and
it.
then this would go here. If you land on a space and there is another dice from another player of the exact number that you used.
Mm-hmm. Like for this one, when you did land 6 here.
Yes, you would take all of the dice of that number from other players and move them to the same adjacent petal. So if I landed here with a 6, I would move this 6 over here or over here. And then if you land exactly on the starting space, you re-roll all of the dice that you haven't placed, which is great if you have a bunch of low numbers, terrible if you have a bunch of high numbers, so you want to avoid the starting space until you've used all your really valuable dice.
I don't know. Sometimes having a 1 is nice.
Sometimes
especially if we're like right next to each other and I say you're here or even here and I move there and I move 1. I get to move here, which This is, you got your most points right here. What you're doing is you're multiplying the dice because it is area majority.
It's a little area majority, a little area control.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
You score 2 different ways at the end of the game. The amount of dice that you have on a petal times the number. So
and everyone scores that.
Correct. It doesn't matter how many dice you have on there, you're multiplying the dice you have with the number. So obviously this one, if I have 3 times 8, that's 24. That's a good chunk of change. And then you're doing majority of dice, and you're counting the pips. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes. Whoever has the most dice on a petal counts the pips on their dice, and they score the pips that they have. If it's a tie, then whoever has the fewest number of pips
like this
of
one
the
here.
tied players. So so this one, we tied on this one. I have 9. She has 14.
Mm-hmm.
So I would score 9 points for this one. She would score none. Now we both would have scored 3 points because it's the number of dice times the petal value.
Correct.
That is how you score. It's just those 2 different ways of scoring. But you'll notice the farther you go around, the more valuable the tiles you get.
And there's fewer spaces.
Mm-hmm. So to land on the 8, only one player can be on an 8 at a time.
Yep.
So you can kind of, you block that space from other players to land on for future, like until you move again.
Which is why you do want dice with higher pips so that you can move around more times. If you have, because you only have 10 dice. So if you have dice with fewer pips, you can't move around as many times, which I found most of my times playing, I had fewer pips and I never landed on that reroll. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I've yet to win the game. I thought I won last time, like he said, and I was very excited until he realized that when I landed here last, I had the same pip as he did.
Yeah, we both
So
had
I was
2s.
supposed to have moved his.
Which then swung this petal for me because you moved something off here, but it swung this one. And then, So I ended up, instead of being
I think it was 56 to 54. It's now 68 to 46.
It was a big swing.
That was crazy, just with that 1 2-pip dice.
Yeah.
I didn't win it.
So it plays at 2 or 3 players. I like it a lot better at 3. At 2, there's not enough going on. There's not enough ability to use those jumping kind of
I don't think we did
mechanisms.
It once. The last
I did
one.
it a couple times on this
I didn't
game.
notice.
But with 3, there's a lot more of being able to kind of to do that where you land exactly on the players and move and be much more strategic with, like, we played with Jared yesterday or the day before, and I actually was able to do one where I landed exactly on you and then exactly on him and made it almost all the way around in one turn, which obviously there's less opportunity to do that. There's no opportunity to do that when there's only 2 players.
Exactly. And
but
you've
also,
got more dice on the petals, so there's a different tug and pull for that area majority.
Yeah, and to be able to land and move there was a lot more pushing dice to other petals, which can be really good. When you're on these that have a lot, you can push them like from 2 to 1 to the lower value, especially if you can land here on the 8 and push dice to the 1. That's a huge swing.
That's a big swing.
But it just felt like at 3, and I get why it's not 4 players. It would be so crowded at 4 players.
Just add another petal.
They could.
Add another petal.
They could. But Dandelions only have 5 petals.
Dandelions don't have petals. They have fluffies.
But before they have fluffies, they have petals. But they
don't. They have a ton of petals. Have you seen a dandelion?
Right. Yes, I was going to say that. That was sarcasm.
Lot. This is like a pansy.
Right. It should have been called pansies. But then the theme of floating and all of that wouldn't work. But as a fun, it plays in. It says 15 minutes. I think it plays in closer to 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah. It is a really fun. It's a tiny box game. It's fun at 2 players.
Yeah, it was okay.
Like I enjoyed it at 2 players. This would be one
of those games that we play. Like we take to a restaurant and we play while we're waiting for our
food. It's a great little coffee shop game. It's a great hey, we have 5 or 10 minutes before we leave. Let's play a quick game. This I totally see this being one of those. Again, it is 3 players, so that does limit, we have a 4-person family, so it limits that a little bit, but I
think we're just going to make our own petal. I'm going to make my own expansion.
Next time you see us play, we will have a piece of construction paper in the middle.
Just cardboard with my own
with a 3.5.
3.5. Yeah. 3.5.
But I have thoroughly enjoyed this. It's
you
one of those.
You weren't a big fan at first, were you?
It seemed too simple at first.
Okay.
But it's one of with most games, the more you play, the more you get the strategy. The first game we played, I don't think we did any pushing, which may have been because we forgot.
I think we did.
And I know we didn't do any bouncing on the other player. So that the second game and the third game we played, I was much more intentional to utilize those and to look for opportunities to use those abilities. And that made it. And so this game, I was fully looking for those. How can I utilize my dice and arrange them and strategically land on certain spots that's going to get me to these higher value things, and also look at what's on these so that I can look for opportunities to land on them and push yours off.
Yeah.
Which we did here off of number 2. We pushed back and forth a lot. We pushed those back and forth,
quite a bit on this last one.
So it felt just very, the first time we played, very much of I play a 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put that there.
Well, I will say it doesn't feel like we're only doing our own thing. Like some games that can play a 2-player, but really is better at you just feel like I'm just doing my own thing and we're just gonna tally the scores at the end. There was that interaction where
the more we've played, the more interactive it's become, because we've become more strategic.
It does play well at 2 players, like you said. It's not like you can play it 2. No, it does.
We've definitely gotten more strategic the more we've played, is just as we've understood how the end scoring works and just the things we can do. So it's more just attention to detail and attention to what can I do with my dice. So
I do love the small box size. The components are great. I have no complaints on the components. Dice, I like the smallness of the dice.
Yep.
And then
scoring board is dry erase. So are you
going to score the dry erase marker?
Same dry 7.5 out of 10. Same as the Ghost Psychic Pizza Deliverers Go to Ghost Town. It's a nice, pointy, stiff-tipped dry erase marker.
That doesn't erase itself.
Doesn't erase itself. Writes very nice. So
Eraser
the marker,
works too.
Yes, obviously sourced from the same factory as the Psychic Pizza Delivers Go to Ghost Town, which we also have a review for that game.
I will say that because the ink is nice and thick, you probably shouldn't wait overnight to erase it, because I did that and it was a little tougher to get off because the ink is so nice. But other than that, no
But
complaints.
other publishers, take note. I know publishers talk amongst each other. you all need to reach out to boardgametables.com.
Where they get
ask
these.
them where they got their dry erase markers. I would love to see this become the standard dry erase marker.
Really? A
in
7.5?
all roll and write board game. I don't expect them to go up to like what would be great is if they started using the wet erase markers with like a real fine tip, like a vis-a-vis marker, the fine tip marker. But I don't expect them to do that.
We have purchased our own dry erase markers because we've gotten so frustrated in the past. That's why this matters to us.
To answer your question, yes, I would be 100% satisfied if every roll and write on the market had a 7.5 out of 10 dry erase marker instead of the 1s and 2s that we get with a lot of them.
I'm pretty sure because they also have On Tour. BoardGameTables.com does On Tour, and they have that same marker. It's the same marker.
So,
we've used that before, and we both commented on how we like
marker quality matters. Take note, publishers. This is the hard-hitting board game journalism you get at Play the Game.
This is Dandelions. Thank you so much, BoardGameTables.com, for sending us to a review. We have enjoyed it. Yep. I really need to not play with him so I can win the game. I'm a little bitter that I can't. I'll just play it with Jared and Peyton. It's okay. You'll come to work and edit, and I'll play it with them and maybe win a game.
And keep an eye out for a new series, Daniel Rates Markers.
Apparently.
Coming soon to Play the Game.
We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.